Dear students, this is your Biopharmaceutics and Pharmacokinetics faculty, Sri Krishna sir, and we have completed all the syllabus, all the topics of our syllabus, except the last topic, that is bioavailability and bioequivalence. From today onwards, we are going to discuss about this topic. I will make few videos for completion of the syllabus of this topic, and I will post the videos that I will make into your group, into your class group. Okay, so let us start the topic bioavailability and bioequivalence. So we already know that the therapeutic effectiveness of a drug depends upon the ability of its dosage form to deliver the drug to its site of action at a rate and extent sufficient to elicit the required pharmacological response or the therapeutic effect. This attribute of the dosage form is called as physiological availability or biological availability or simply bioavailability. For most drugs, the pharmacological response can be related directly to the plasma levels. Thus, okay, so here we have to remember one thing. You may be knowing about this. That is, at the site of action, it is difficult to assess the concentration of drug or its quantity, or change in the concentration or quantity with respect to time, but this can be done in plasma. Okay, with respect to time, we can measure the changes of concentration or amount of drug in plasma, and it is assumed that there always exists a direct relationship between the concentration of drug at site of action and concentration of drug in plasma. Any change in the concentration of drug in plasma leads to a corresponding and proportional change in the concentration of drug at the site of action. Okay. Because of these reasons, we can define the term bioavailability as the rate and extent of absorption of unchanged drug from its dosage form into the systemic circulation. Okay, and bioavailability is actually an absolute term. Here we have to remember two things with respect to bioavailability. They are the rate of absorption and extent of absorption. The rate or rapidity with which a drug is absorbed is an important consideration when a rapid onset of action is required for treatment of certain acute conditions such as asthma attack, pain, headache, fever, etc. Whereas a slower absorption rate is desired when our aim is to prolong the duration of action or to avoid the adverse effects. On the other hand, extent of absorption is of specific significance or special significance in the treatment of certain chronic conditions like hypertension, epilepsy, etc. Okay, already you know that various factors affect the rate and extent of drug absorption from the administered dosage form. They are pharmaceutical factors like which includes physicochemical properties of the drug and process and formulation related aspects or factors affecting the absorption of the drug. and patient related factors affecting the absorption of the drug, and finally route of administration of the dosage form. Okay, we have various routes of administration of drugs. So when it comes to the effect of route of administration, it is simple to say that parenteral routes, through parenteral routes, drug absorbs quickly and completely, more quickly and more completely when compared to the other routes. Okay, and it is commonly seen, and okay, it is generally seen and generally assumed that parenteral routes gives quicker absorption and complete absorption of drug when compared to other routes. Okay, so in this aspect, parenteral routes are followed by oral route, and oral route is followed by the rectal, and the rectal route is followed by the other routes, which are mainly topical routes, So coming to coming to a term called as bioavailable fraction, we know that the total amount of drug that is administered in the form of a dosage form will not reach the systemic circulation. Whatever the route, through whatever the route we administer, except for intravenous route. Why? Because in intravenous route there will there will not be any absorption process. Drug directly enters into the systemic circulation. But when it comes to the other routes, some amount of drug will be lost during its transit from the site of administration to the systemic circulation, and the process that involved in this loss of drug while the drug is in its transit through into systemic circulation is called as pre-systemic elimination. So due to pre-systemic elimination, total amount of drug administered will not reach the systemic circulation, and a fraction of the drug administered actually reaches the systemic circulation, and this fraction is called as bioavailable fraction, This bioavailable fraction is represented with capital F. Okay, we have a formula for capital F, that is capital F equals to actual amount of drug that reaches the systemic circulation by total amount of drug administered, or we can also say capital F equals to bioavailable dose by administered dose. Okay, coming to objectives of bioavailability studies, nothing but for what purposes we have to go for conducting the bioavailability studies. Okay, bioavailability studies, whenever any new drug is invented or any new drug entity is invented, and in order to bring it into the market for use, a suitable dosage form for that new drug entity should be developed. Okay, so in the process of developing a suitable dosage form for a new drug entity, bioavailability studies are conducted in order to obtain the evidence of the therapeutic utility of the drug through that suitable dosage form. Okay, and bioavailability studies are also are required whenever any new dosage form is being developed for an already existing drug in the market. And bioavailability studies are conducted to determine the influence of various formulation related, process related, and patient related factors affecting the rate and extent of drug absorption from a dosage form. And bioavailability studies are also conducted in order to determine the influence of possible interactions of a drug with the other drugs, okay, in a formulation. Okay, so this is the case where the formulation contains the drug under study along with the other drugs. And bioavailability studies are also conducted in order to assess the effect of processing, storage, and stability of the drug on the drug as well as on the dosage form whenever especially in the initial stages of marketing of the drug or dosage form. I repeat once again, bioavailability studies are also conducted in order to bioavailability studies are also conducted in the initial stages of marketing of a dosage form of a suitable dosage form of new drug entity, or a new dosage form of already existing drug in the market, in order to assess the effect of processing, storage, and stability on such dosage forms. And finally, bioavailability studies are also conducted to compare the bioavailability or availability of a drug substance from different dosage forms of the same drug, or the same dosage form manufactured by or produced by different manufacturers. Okay, so for these purposes, bioavailability we have to go for conduct of bioavailability studies. So coming to types of bioavailability, we have two types of bioavailability. They are absolute bioavailability and relative bioavailability. When the systemic availability of a drug administered orally is determined in comparison to its intravenous administration, it is called as absolute bioavailability, and it is denoted by the symbol capital F. Okay, here we have to remember one thing, that is both the bioavailable fraction and absolute bioavailability are same. Okay, and in our discussion, okay, according to the definition, absolute bioavailability will be estimated in reference to the intravenous administration of drug. There are some cases where absolute bioavailability was estimated in reference to the intramuscular administration of the drug, or administration of an oral solution into the GIT, and the cases are rare cases, but more commonly absolute bioavailability will be estimated in reference to the intravenous administration of the drug. Why? Because it avoids the absorption process itself. Okay, and whenever we whenever we determine absolute bioavailability in reference to an oral solution, we'll come across some drawbacks, or we'll come across some limitations in estimating the bioavailability. There, in such cases, we cannot apply. We can only use first. We can only apply one compartment model for the data obtained from bioavailability studies, and not the two compartment model, which is most applicable. So because of this reason, okay, we cannot able to determine total number, all the we cannot able to determine all the pharmacokinetic parameters of the drug. At the same time, it becomes difficult for to differentiate between fraction of the dose unabsorbed and fraction of the dose undergone uh, pre-systemic elimination or metabolism. Okay, and if the rate of absorption is not sufficiently greater than the rate of elimination, it is also okay, it is not possible to get a precise estimate of the elimination rate constant for the drug. So these are the three main limitations or drawbacks we will come across due to due to taking of oral solution as a reference standard for estimating the absolute bioavailability. Now coming to relative bioavailability, it is also called as comparative bioavailability. So when a systemic availability of a drug after oral administration is compared with that of the oral standard of the same drug, like an aqueous or non-aqueous solution or a suspension, it is called as a relative bioavailability. It is denoted by a symbol Fr. In contrast to the absolute bioavailability, it is used to characterize the absorption of a drug from its formulation. And finally, both absolute bioavailability and relative bioavailability are expressed in terms of percentages. Okay, so students, so I am ending my discussion at this point of time. I'll be continuing the discussion in the next video. Thank you.